The Southern New Hampshire University tennis program has been able to make a change for the better. This success can be traced back to one man, Coach Greg Koash, the driving force behind the program and its quest for greatness.
The conversation early on was that something I was always looking to do, and Chip knew that. So I felt someday when the current coach was going to retire that I had that ability, and it was looking that I would be able to get that position. It just happened to come on pretty quick.
The guys were very lucky that he stepped up to coach them as well. For the boys team, it wasn't a matter of him not wanting to coach. I think it was a matter of having the time, and I think he did a really good job, and he's the reason why we're both #1 teams this year.
When I played 2 or 3 years ago, the coach did the bare minimum. It was just practices whenever you could, and that was it. And when Greg took over, the program started to build up.
Definitely a big, significant change with getting Greg from our previous coach. I mean, just practice scheduling alone was a big change. We really picked up, got a lot more practices going in, even mandatory workouts, which was a big deal. It was good to actually get a little more activeness out of both the coach and the players.
I make sure that these teams get very well bonded together. That's probably the most important factor. And I found the bonus is when I put 2 teams together, both teams actually got together, and now they interact like just one big team. It's more than just girls team, guys team. They're very, very close. They cheer for each other. They go to each other's matches. It's actually worked out even better than I could have dreamed at this point.
I like the fact that Greg is the coach for both teams because it makes it much easier for one team to support the other and vice versa, and also for there to be more of a unity between the 2 teams.
When I always talked about with him and with the other captain, John, is the big thing is you always want to have a team that's very close, if not like a family.
It's always great to have support when you're on the court. We always go to each other's matches and we're always behind each other, so, and the success of both teams, I think, has a lot to do with that.
They're in college now. I know that they need a little bit of a push, but they're adults. You know, I'd like to see it, you know, in a recruit that comes in, that they have that desire built in. And I could say that the people that I've brought in, they come built in with that desire already. So we continually talk about strategy and improvements on the court and in practice, but I like the fact that they kind of empower themselves. And they empower themselves and also for the school. My philosophy is not about records and winning streaks and everything else. I think we're blessed with them right now. But the reality is, I don't look even to maintain them. I bring our kids down on spring break and play some absolutely amazing teams. And that's, quite honestly, if I may say this, that's so they can get their butts handed to them. You know, by doing this, we have great teams, but when we play the top of the top, it exposes holes in our doubles and in our singles and what those guys pick on to win their matches, and that's what we come back and we have to work on. And as proud as I am of all our players right now, I find that that's one good way to find out where do I have a couple holes that we have to work on, so when we get back and play our NE10 schedule, you know, those holes are fixed and we go in for another NE10 championship, and that's what I look for.
I do like how he brings us down to Florida because we face harder competition and we get a bit more experience, and experience is so important because then we come to the NE10 season and those matches have helped us out so much because that was tough competition. This makes this competition not seem so strong.
He's just a very positive guy and always looking forward and building on past experience and looking at past experiences that some might say are failures that are negatives. Greg takes those and turns those into positives.
I'm definitely one to look for the positives. And what I've seen in the match, and then when I meet with my coaches afterwards, that's something we want to work on in practice.
Coach is definitely a positive person, unbelievable. I've never heard a lot of negative out of him.
there's a strong emotion in tennis. So losses sometimes are kind of rough on our players. And I know they need a little space here before we go back and to talk about what we need to build on.
He's such a positive guy, and he doesn't dwell on the negative things at all. If he'll tell you what you're doing wrong and stuff to fix, but it's never in a negative way, and he's not angry. He's there to help you, and he helps me a lot.
Coming from last year, having about 3 to 4 wins the whole entire season and just getting, just getting worked around, which not the best, but to come back and have the #1 seed the next year is just great, because you not only you feel good as a team, but you also feel great because you're shocking everybody else.
The program itself, I see the two teams really, this is the stepping stone to allow this school's tennis program to really just boom. And we would love for both of the men's and the women's teams to be in, have national rankings.
We're going to be a lot stronger of a team next year. We have a couple more recruits that are coming in to just really smooth out this whole team, and we're going to be unbelievable next year. We're definitely going to be in the top seed next year as well.
It's an amazing adventure. I mean, he started out and took a team that had, I don't believe, had been to the NCAA tournament period. The women's team is more than likely going to be in there for the 3rd year in a row. The men went from not being in the NE10 tournament last year to being the #1 seed in the tournament this year. When we found out that both teams are going to be the #1 seed, it's quite a statement for the conference. And I really think, for Northeast tennis in general, I think that really, shows, where this, where the heart of tennis is right now, and it's Southern New Hampshire.